G'day, folks. Today I'm speaking to Willem Kitshoff from the D6, the CEO from D6, on behalf of the FEDSAS Center of Technology. Welcome, Willem. Great to have you on board. Maybe at the very beginning, give us a bit of a rundown or a bit of an intro as to how your involvement with the FEDSAS Center of Technology has been over the last few years.
Good morning, Paul. No, our engagement with FEDSAS started probably about 9 years ago when they started the Center for Technology. If we look at what FEDSAS is proud of, is the leader in school governance and management, and I think that's something that we resonate with from a D6 perspective as well. We understand the importance of good management and leadership in schools, and that's exactly what we're trying to promote.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we have had a long association from the days when I was still provincial manager in KZN. There's been a long involvement with the D6, and it's a wonderful process. It's a wonderful system that actually operates within the school environment, and I think that's really what we want to unpack a little bit today. But maybe let me dive straight into it and let's ask that critical question. Willem, what does the D6 solve at schools? What is the big problem that you've seen, and what are you looking to do to try and solve those big problems? As a former chairperson, I can give you all the problems that schools have got, but from your side, what are the problems that you see, and how do you go about solving those?
Paul, our view of schools are that they're more complex businesses than most SMMEs in the country. I think parents seldom fathom the complexities of managing a school, yet we expect these schools to operate as well-oiled machines. But our perspective is that there's not enough emphasis placed on the importance of school management and leadership. And we, from a D6 perspective, we've got two core focus areas. One is to drive effective schools, and we do that through technology. We understand the importance of management in order to drive learning outcomes. And the absence of sound management, that business, which is a school, their product and service that they deliver to learners will always be jeopardized if that school is not managed well. From a D6 perspective, our core focus is to support schools to improve the way that they operate and manage themselves in order to ensure that we alleviate pressure from teachers and staff members on administrative time leakages so that they can spend more time with the learners in the classroom. So that's our core focus, and we do that through technology with providing schools with an integrated school management platform, which looks at four core pillars. One is administration, so managing all learner, staff, and parent data, including absenteeism, submissions, code of conduct, and disciplinary related stuff. So that's sort of the fundamentals from an administrative perspective, but then also moving into learner performance capturing and learner performance management through a curriculum module that we provide. In order to ensure that schools can actively track learner performance throughout the process from grade R to grade 12. Then we also have an integrated finance platform, and this is also critical in schools. If we look at how schools manage their financial affairs, we see it so many times where there's a decoupling from admin and finance, which means that schools might not be billing parents or be billing parents that they should not be billing. And in the absence of integration between admin core and finance, there is always the risk of data incompleteness or inaccuracies between the data. So the integrated capability for the entire finance module, which pretty much just replaces your current accounting package, whether it's Sage or Xero or any off-the-shelf accounting packages. So that's sort of captured in the finance module. And I think an important thing on finance is, although the generic ledger of an accounting platform is fairly similar across all platforms, it's the small nuances that we focused on from a finance perspective in order to support schools. That is helping schools with much better data management, because the complexities of family structures are something which is normally complex in a school's environment. In order to determine, is it the mom or the dad, or the complexities of family structures within the billing environment always creates complexity with financial management. But then also small nuances like project management. For instance, if the grade 3 class needs to go on an outing and the parents needs to pay 10 Rand, how do they do that? Normally what happens there is they'll go to the administrative office, they'll get a list of all the grade 3 parents, and then they'll go to the finance office and then start billing the parents in an ad hoc position or ad hoc method. Whereas with us, all that data is already integrated into your financial environment. So it eases the ability for the finance office to stay up to date, and ease of billing and collection of fees. Together with the finance module, we also have a full cashless environment or transactional environment to support schools to facilitate transactions between parents and schools. And that is done through our D6 application. And we also have the ability to facilitate on-campus spending in order to support schools to decash themselves completely. What we've seen in the school space is if we look at, we've got about 1,200 schools utilizing our platform, and the average cash on campus is roughly about 100,000 Rand, which schools carry on campus. Yeah. And the risk of that is significant. So what we're trying to do is to support schools to become cashless so that we can facilitate transactions between parents and the school. But equally important is to support the finance office with ease of reconciliations. We know that schools are using multiple pay points, and it's always a reconciling issue for schools to determine who has paid, who has not paid, for all the different billing categories that schools running. And then the last one is communication. So that's maybe touching on our second core of what we're trying to solve is we believe that the more involved parents are with their school, the more flourishing those schools are. Where parents starts to disengage, the school struggles. So what we're trying to achieve through our communication platform, which is again integrated into the entire administrative core and finance core and curriculum core, is to ensure that parents are being kept up to date with what's going on in a single environment through our communication platform, so that parents can consume child-specific information, whether it's your report cards, absenteeism, disciplinary related stuff, ability to pay for ad hoc payments or school fees through the platform, but then also just to keep up to date with what's going on, whether it's resources or any form of communication that is being sent to parents. The important thing about our communication platform, it is not the application that makes it strong. It is more the school's ability to manage communication effectively, of which our application is only one of the channels to communicate. We also facilitate email and SMS, and we've recently included WhatsApp as a distribution channel. But the challenge with WhatsApp and SMS is it becomes so dilute because I've got 100 different WhatsApp groups that I need to follow, and I sort of at some point start to disengage. Yeah. And that's why we're trying to drive app utilization so that we can get the parents to utilize a single environment that they know all school-related matters are in this D6 environment, and they don't have to look anywhere else. No. So that's sort of the full scope. Maybe just on top of that I want to mention is that we know that we can't solve everything in schools. Yeah. So we need to be very clear of what we are not good at. And that is where we need to find good partners in the market in order to complete this ecosystem that we're trying to provide. So we've got multiple integration partners, whether it's library administration, sports administration, hostel administration, curriculum provision and content distribution. We've got debt management and debt managers and collectors also part of this integration ecosystem, which means that if the schools adopt D6, they get access to a full ecosystem of products that should solve a lot of their challenges.
Yeah. If I try and put that in a summary for folks, because Willem, I think if someone listens to this again, they'll understand exactly the complexity of a school. And I think that's what we're talking about. It's the complexity of the school. I often deal with governing body members who get involved in a school, and after a year, they say, well, this is a lot more complex than they thought it would be. And then often and I won't mention the teachers' names, they say, schools would be much easier places if we didn't have learners and parents involved. And I think that really brings me to sort of summing up. The complexity of a school environment requires a system and a process and an ecosystem that can actually operate in there. Great to hear about the involvement of other service providers or other solutions out there, because I think it is a lot more complex. Just in the background while I was listening to you, I was thinking, if you just took the commercial side of D6 out, and we'll get to that just now, this is exactly the complexity that South African schools face. It's that multi-layer, multi-complex process that takes place. So yeah, I think if I could sum it up to everybody, to say the solution provision is to not dilute that complexity, but to manage that complexity, to get that complexity into a managed process, all the way from your administration, your learners' performance, through to finances, through to the communication, which ties it all in from that side. So yeah, thanks very much. I think that gives a wonderful overview of where you operate and the place that you operate in. Willem, I did mention the commercial side of things. I don't want to take the commercial thing out, and we don't need to go into detail, but what sort of model do you work on? as a former chairperson of a governing body, I've seen a few of the service providers come in, and the first question that's asked in that board meeting is, how much is this going to cost us? Not what it's going to save us and what solution it's going to solve, but the first question is always, how much is this going to cost us? So maybe I don't need a full detail, but I think just to our audience, just let them know roughly what sort of processes you work on, maybe your cost model. We don't need necessarily figures, but your cost model that you operate in.
Paul, to put it simply, we've got a modularized cost model, so schools doesn't have to select everything. They could utilize only communication and payments as a single environment, which consolidates both your communication and payments environment into a single application or single product. But they can choose whether they want to adopt a curriculum module or finance module or admin module. So they can pick and choose. It is based on the school size primarily. So depending on the larger the school, the more the more expensive the product. But on a per learner basis, it actually decreases. So our pricing model is structured in such a way that the larger the school, the actual effective price that you pay per learner for the entire product suite becomes cheaper. The average fee that schools pay us in general is about 3,000 Rand per month for the entire product suite. So that's from admin, curriculum, finance, communication, cashless, the entire product suite. And that also includes all the integration partners that we've got. So our integration partners, we don't charge for the actual integration to the school. So the school doesn't have a cost element in order to activate integrations. Obviously, that'll depend on the partner's pricing structures, which we don't get involved in. But our product, on average, one can work with our average currently is about 3,000 Rand per month per school.
That's a fantastic figure, just to give an idea of what it is. And dare I say it, the efficiency saving that's generated from the process is great. Just on an aside, in FEDSAS, we're using the D6 as well. Obviously, we don't have the learner administration. We use a communication process, and it really, the latest rollouts on the platform, the admin platform, is really fantastic, and it's intuitive, easy to operate. I see a number of these regularly, and it's really, really easy for us to operate. And I'm presuming, Willem, that the other admin processes are on a similar platform that's also intuitive and easy to work. Gone are the days where you need extensive training on how a system works. You maybe need orientation on it, but systems are so intuitive, and definitely the communication side, I have to say, is very intuitive and very easy to operate from that side.
Thanks, Paul. Maybe just something that I'd like to add, which is critical in the school space, is obviously compliance and reporting to Department of Education. That's where the current SASAMS environment comes in. So how we support schools in order to ensure that they comply and have the ability to report to the Department of Education is we've got a full SASAMS extract, which pretty much creates an SASAMS database that the schools can submit directly to the DBE, which means that if they utilize D6, they do not have to also utilize SASAMS because we provide them with an SASAMS database file that they can submit. I think an important thing that schools need to ask, and this is something which is also front of mind for me always when I engage with schools, is the sensitivity of information that schools deal with. Learner-specific information, very detailed stuff around the learner and parents, and to what extent are they sure that their processes internally and the software that they utilize are aligned with the regulations provided by POPI and, in certain instances, GDPR. Because if a school has any European data subject, so a parent that is of European descent, one parent, that school must comply with GDPR. And I do not believe that schools understand the complexity and importance and risks that they have as responsible parties on the data that they manage. So they need to ask the question, one, is their platform integrated? So do they operate on multiple different platforms? And if so, why? Because there are potential solutions out there that they could utilize. And that's where we come in. But then secondly, also their data administration and SASAMS. They should ask the question, how safe is that? And to what extent, when they report to DBE, how sure are they that as responsible parties on the data, are they comfortable with submissions from an SASAMS perspective? So I think that's an important question that schools need to ask themselves.
Willem, thanks very much. I really appreciate the time. Obviously, we, as a member of the Center of Technology, we promote your details and your contact details through onto our website and onto our FEDSAS marketplace as well. But maybe if you wouldn't mind just giving us the contact details if someone's interested in getting hold of the D6, how's the easiest way to actually contact someone in the D6 so that they can actually start looking at this process if they haven't already engaged with D6? What are your contact details?
So either go on our website, d6.co.za, or alternatively, they can just send us an email at sales@d6.co.za. We'll get in contact with them. The email address automatically feeds into our CRM, and we'll put them in contact with the right person.
Excellent. No, that's super. I will also add the details on, so you'll see them at the end of this recording as well. So thank you very much. Thanks, Willem. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the time. It's really been great to engage with you again. As I say, we've had previous associations years gone by, and it's good to be on the same platform. All the best. I think there's lots of challenges ahead, but I think you're way ahead of any of the other providers with regards to solutions that are out there that really can give a fully integrated solution to all our schools and the complexity that the schools handle. So thank you very much. Really appreciate the time.
Thanks, Paul. And thanks again for FEDSAS as well. It's great working with you guys, and well done and on the effort that you guys also invest in South Africa to improve schools overall.
Appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Bye.